I'm Jamie Carragher, and you are listening to the Clubbe podcast.
What is happening, everyone? Welcome back to the Clubbe podcast and Pod and a Pint episode 10. We are finally in double digits. We're in Shenanigans once again in the cozy corner, and I'm joined by Dan Clubbe this time from RedMen. How are you doing?
Yeah, can't complain, mate. Yeah, good. Cozy is the word.
It's cozy,
well. Lovely,
yeah. And the little chair where I was like, do you want to sit on there? And you're like, is it a chair or is it a throne or what is it?
I wasn't convinced it was a chair, to be honest. I must admit, like, it was surrounded by
just cushions.
Yeah, but I've never seen such a mismatch of cushions, to be honest. But yeah, it's nice. It's good.
Yeah, it is like probably. That's what I'm not going to say that. I was going to say that when you go on your nan's and she's got loads of cushions.
I think it's a fair assessment.
It's a fair one. I'm sure they won't mind me saying that. But yeah, getting it ready, of course. Dan's on the pint of what?
Lime and soda.
Teetotal. I was going to say pint of vodka or whatever, but
no, not me.
How long have you been teetotal for? How long for?
7, 8 years.
Have you?
Yeah.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah. Teetotal, fitness first.
Fucking hell, fresh that.
You've seen me running around on a Tuesday.
Yeah, that's not
true. That's not the run of the drink.
It's not a lie. I can confirm that I was running like a drunkard on Tuesday. My back went straight away. Fucking hell. But yeah, we're going to talk a bit about Liverpool Everton 2-2, of course, which loads of stuff coming out of that, and then we'll get stuck into Wolves as well. But as we always do, opening question. As it's Valentine's Day today, you know what? Try and make it a bit romantic and all that. Pick your LFC five-a-side team, but it's 5 players, and they all need to begin with the word heart. So one with H, one with E, one with A, one with R, one with T. So if you can do better than us, put them in the comments. But I'll go to you first, Dan, because I went H, and then I got stuck at E, and I was like, shit. And then I was like, ART sound. But the E really stumped me. Yeah. But do you want to give us yours?
Yeah, I can do that, mate. Absolutely. Yeah, I'm glad I understood the assignment, which was something. Because for a second there, I just not explained the rules. I was panicking, thinking, no. I think we're all good. All 5, yeah, straight off the bat. Yeah.
Actually, no. Should we do it in order? So should you go with your H first?
H first. Okay, my H is Sammy Appiah.
Yeah.
Got him.
It was one of them, like, you're thinking like Hansen, then I was trying to go with players that I've seen.
Yeah.
Obviously, Hansen's got the legendary
credentials,
but Sammy Appiah was...
Sammy Appiah, the back and 5-a-side. I don't need that.
I don't need to play.
Yeah. He's a handful at the back there, isn't he?
I mean,
did you consider any others?
H's? Well, yeah, I was looking at like Hendo or... Heskey.
I really was torn on doing Heskey. Hendo's energy in 5-a-side will be a problem.
Yeah.
But Heskey up top.
Heskey, yeah. Because he's, you know what, he gets a bad rep, doesn't he? Like that generation of KSI where used to say Heskey was like just a big lump.
Oh,
and then people would just say, like, all of a sudden thought Heskey was shit. And I was like, where's this come from? He's bad. He obviously weren't a major bagsman, but he had his moments where he was quality. But that when his game was more like...
It was.
An earlier Firmino type of
thing. Bringing other people into play. Obviously the Owen link up and what have you. Yeah, but he was an absolute beast in every sense of the word. But yeah, I just think when you boil it down to 5-a-side as well, I think if you were coming up against him, what would you not want? And he's everything I wouldn't want.
Because he was
quick, strong, quick, powerful, yeah. And then when he hits him,
you get out the way, aren't you?
He'd be a real contender. But then I went, Sammy.
Yeah, that's it. And then we'll get to actually, this is probably the best way to do it because we come to the E's.
Tough. Yeah, tough.
Difficult.
Difficult. Yeah, I ended up going with Harvey Elliott.
Yeah.
Because I think Wataru Endo was a shout, but the balance of my team didn't work so much with Wataru Endo, to be honest. And I just think Harvey Elliott, as much as he's getting a bit of a bad rap in many senses now, in 5-a-side, in that little intricate tight spaces, lovely football.
Tight passing, little triangles, shots at goal, all that stuff, I think he'd be good, wouldn't he? I was like, there's obviously, Elliott was my first choice, then I was like Endo, then I was like Jose Enrique. Because he's a bull.
I didn't get that far.
Yeah. I know. No. I mean, honourable mentions.
You know fair enough. Yeah. Xavi. Alonso.
Have you got Alonso?
Yeah.
See, I've got Alisson for the keeper.
See, I Becker. That's B to me. A bone of contention there, that's B.
Yeah, this is what I was going to say. Do we go? Isn't it? Yeah, his surname's better, but he's known as Allison. I don't know. Like, if not, I would go Alonso.
Would you see? Mine was a late change. Alonso, to be honest with you. I had Trent. Almost until about 5 minutes until I got here. Like honestly, but then again, balance of the team came into it a little bit. I don't know how effective Trent's 60-yard switches would be in goals on five sides. I mean, Xabi Alonso had a lot of that going on as well, of course. But I just think somebody just to run the show in midfield. Xabi's your man.
You just pass to him and go on, lad.
Take care of that.
Sort that out. Yeah. Score for us. If we need a goal, you're going to score from anywhere.
Got everything.
Yeah, I mean, I might have fucked up there with the Allison back a bit, but I'm having him. I'm sticking it. Okay. My game, my rules, lad.
Yeah, fair. Yeah.
I'm sure I'll be told otherwise. What are we on now? R.
That's my keeper. Pepe.
See, that was it. It was either Reina and then the A, or stick to me guns.
Yeah, you've got the better keeper.
Yeah,
ultimately, but playing by the actual rules.
Yeah. Well, yours is the rules, mine isn't.
Yeah, Pepe Reina. Listen, it wasn't. The keeper was tough, aside from the one you've chosen, obviously. But yeah, Pepe Reina, I think, good, decent shot stopper. Yeah, I think he'll get away with that.
He had a sketchy, few years though towards the end.
Very much. Yeah, but I love Pepe Reina. And also...
it was great for us.
I was thinking, in terms of a laugh, Pepe Reina's right.
Oh, yeah. All the
Bombaleo song and all that.
Yeah. Massive and all that.
Yeah, he's boss. Good fella.
Yeah, because you see them clips, don't you? Obviously, there's all this on this day stuff. And then you get watching these highlights from, I don't know, 2000 and whatever. And I think it was a Portsmouth game the other day I was watching. And I was like, all their goals were just shockers by Reina. And I was like, oh my God. And I remember it just transported me back to that spell where he wasn't great, but then obviously he had such a good prolonged period where he was boss. So
Liverpool and goalkeepers for a long time, up until Alisson wasn't a match made in heaven, was it? And Pepe falls into that category as well. But I do think he had spells whereby he was also exceptional for us. So, and again, good fella.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I've gone Rush.
I mean, yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay.
You want someone just to literally go, right, we're going to win 7-0, lads.
Yeah, it's Rush, isn't it?
It's Rushy.
All you need is Rush.
Yeah.
T, though.
T?
Torres.
Yeah.
Do you go Torres as well?
Yeah.
So you've gone 2?
I've gone 2, so I'm going Allison, Hippier, just stay at the back. Elliott's in the 10 position, and then Rush and Torres.
Okay, so I've obviously gone Pepe.
It's like a 4-2-4 man, isn't it, basically?
Yeah. I've gone Pepe, Sammy just in front, Xabi and Harvey, and then just Torres up top.
Yours are more balanced.
I think so.
And yours are more by the rules. So you
definitely.
Let us know, does Dan win? What score would it be if that man
in an hour? 17-18.
That would be a heavy game, wouldn't it, to be fair? But yeah, let us know yours in the comments if you want to get involved. But yeah, let's talk about Everton then, because I'm sure you've done a lot of stuff already on this for RedMen and that, but what's your general thoughts on the game? Because I think going into it, and I spoke to Neil on the previous episode, and it was like, you might just have to, we were talking about would you accept 7 points gap? And it's like, you don't want to accept that because you want the 9s there for the grabs, and everyone's got their eyes on your Arsenal looking at you, hoping that you lose. Most of the country probably are hoping that we lose, to just so we obviously United fans, so we don't want us to get to 20, and then there's the gap that people don't want the gap to be there. It makes the season more exciting if the gap remains shorter. So all those things come into it, and there's the Moyes factor and last derby at Goodison, all that getting thrown around in the mix. So it was bound to be a horrible game, but Liverpool, from a Liverpool perspective, I just don't think we turned up very well in the game.
No, I think that's a pretty fair assessment of it, to be honest with you. It's certainly not when you look at what we have been capable of, and it was quite removed from what I've come to expect from an Arne Slot Liverpool as well, because it was more of a emotionally driven, this is a wild game of footy, which is exactly what Everton wanted. They dragged us into that, whether it be the crowd, whether it be the players or whatever. And we bought it a little bit, because the pre-match Slot said something like, we need cool heads and cars, something like along those lines, and it was
cool head but not cool legs.
Yeah, it was the opposite of that, really, wasn't it? It was all a little bit too frantic from the get-go, and I know a lot of the decision-making, Michael Oliver-wise, was poor. He gave a lot of daft, soft free kicks. The opening goal leads to one from Everton's point of view, so not necessarily all our fault.
Yeah,
but I still maintain we got sucked in to their game plan, which was just to make it messy. At no point did we ever really get proper control.
No.
Like, there's a spell maybe in the second half whereby we looked something like ourselves, but disappointing in a sickening way, because it felt like as the game sort of peaked towards its conclusion, albeit with chaos ensuing thereafter, it felt like you are getting out of Dodge with 3 points despite not playing well really for a while. And then if I'm being really, really honest, the draw was probably a fair result.
It was.
Because
Yeah.
Everton would argue that they sort of had the better of it, if you like. But yeah, not enough battles. Well, if you are going to get into a dogfight with a team like that, or a bar fight with a team like that, win your battles.
Yeah,
and we didn't really do a lot of that either. So yeah, not great.
Yeah, and I think it's one of them, like, you can look back on it and maybe the end of the season and go, it's a point well earned or whatever, but I think Slot said it today in the press. He said, like, we scored 2 goals and we had like 2.5 chances. So, like, it shows how clinical we are, or paraphrasing, he said something like that.
Yeah.
But that's kind of like a fair assessment. You don't expect anything less of him from the way that he's the way that he acts in press conferences. He says it how it is, doesn't he? Like, he doesn't sugarcoat anything.
No, I love that about him, to be honest with you. And that's been the case since day one, hasn't it? He's been very forthright, very honest, very open as well. He speaks far more openly than I can remember any manager really speaking about opposition and our own players and what have you, and how things are. And yeah, that was definitely the case post-Everton. Obviously, we finally got a chance to hear from him post-Everton after he wasn't allowed to conduct his usual post-match interviews in midweek. But yeah, he does say it how it is, and that's a very Dutch trait, and a trait that I think we've all gone after sort of get accustomed to and get used to, good and bad. He pulls no punches, and I like that from him, I do. Yeah. And I think how he's conducted himself to sort of override the Arne Slot era thus far, I feel like, how he's conducted himself in the main has been absolutely outstanding from day one, really. Obviously, from our point of view, we got wind early on. A few people might have said this to you, I'm not sure, that he was only going to really do his sort of contractually obliged interviews. He wasn't going to do much sort of outside that, which is fine. Because obviously we want him. We want to speak to him, like, cards on the table, of course we do. But he's all business. He's focusing solely on Liverpool, making the squad better, etc., etc., etc. And thus far, it's working. A couple of blips along the way, but how he's responded to setbacks, to mini adversity thus far has been exceptional as well.
Yeah, and he referenced today as well on the presser, like, how it's an improvement from last year as well. Obviously, it became a bit of a dogfight. I expected us to be better, like, keeping the ball and, like, just turning the ball over and winning those second balls, all that stuff that generally over the years when we've won there, we do well, and we do that to a good level, but we just didn't. Watching it, you just feel like we just didn't get going, and that's obviously credit to Everton, but like the ref stuff, obviously, which Slot can't talk about because of this ongoing process, but like the first goal, he falls over. Yeah. Like there's moments in the game, there's obviously their goal where there's the push and all that shit, which it makes it just that pill just a bit more difficult to swallow. Just because if it was just like maybe 2 decisions that went against us, you can go, fair enough, but like there's so many in there, little ones that affect the game so massively.
Yeah, you're right. And when you boil it down into sort of isolated incidents, you've got to look at both of their 2 goals, and they both sort of shrouded in controversy. Yeah. Because the opening goal, as you said, there's never free kick, and Jai just takes a big old leap. He's anticipating the contact from McAllister that never comes. That should never be a free kick in my mind. What I will say is they execute what happens next really well, and we don't. We're not really alive, so that we are a little bit asleep at the wheel, and they capitalise. So a little bit of credit and a little bit of criticism from that point of view. The second goal, of course, is massively controversial because of the time, the offside, and then, of course, the push on Canate, as you say. So when you do think about it like that, Oliver's had a big say in the direction of travel of those points. But from our perspective, we weren't great in the game. We didn't battle particularly well. Yeah. However, we scored 2 perfectly legitimate goals. And that sounds really controversial, but it's true as well. Because obviously the McAllister goal, nobody can question that. The Salah one, likewise. So realistically, we've done our bit without being great, bit efficient in the final third, without being very good in the match. So it's a positive in a way. And again, if you're being really, really cynical and you are that way inclined to unpick and unpack every single element of the game and really criticise a ref, there's lots to go at.
Yeah, there is. I think it's one of them, isn't it? Like, you've factored in everything. You've just got to take it on the chin, haven't you? It's just one of them. It's very disappointing.
And you just can't define what happens next, obviously starting this weekend. Exactly. This is a massive run of fixtures.
Huge.
And, I did a thing a couple of weeks ago now, ahead of this run really in the league, and it was like, how many points do you want from it, sort of thing. And this wasn't the ideal start, obviously, because 3 points in the derby would have been a huge momentum swinger for me. However, it's a baby step towards what this next little spell could be, and it's so important.
Yeah, because I feel like obviously this is what a season is, but like you get to a stage and you go, them next 5 are difficult. And then we seem to get through it and you go, them next 5 are difficult. It's getting to that stage where obviously, like, because the points gap is what it is, Arsenal have obviously got some more injuries with Havertz being out and Saka still out and all that stuff. And so their front 3 is like, what? Sterling,
Ranieri and Trossard, which you'd argue
is still decent enough.
It is decent enough, mate. Yeah, of course it is. Yeah, but it's probably not even their second choice front three. I would say. Ranieri's come out of nowhere, really.
Yeah,
Sterling's been out of favour for a long time. They've liked dropping Trossard in every now and then, but mainly from the bench. So I'm not going to sit here and say that Arsenal won't win for the next fortnight, but it's going to be tough.
Yeah, and I think it's difficult as well because there's people who, I'm sure, well, we've all got it, like the PTSD element after Man City. But if I said this to someone on, I think it was in the WhatsApp group, like if it was City chasing us and we just drew to Everton, you'd be like, fucking hell, they're going to take advantage of that. But because of what Arsenal are, because of the position they're in, we're still leveling this trajectory we're on, parallel to what we should be expecting from Man City. But it's not. It's an Arsenal side, so you've got to. It's hard to break that mold, though, isn't it? It's hard to just go, right, actually, they're going to drop points as well. They've got to go and win near enough every game, and for us to lose a couple as well.
And that feels like a stretch, doesn't it? You're right, though. Shifting the expectation, I've really had to battle with. Because every time Liverpool have been in the title race in recent memory,
You've got to win every game.
You've got to win every game. And if you don't, it's a catastrophe. And changing that mentality has been really, really tough. Funnily enough, I was saying to somebody in the gym earlier on this week, post-Derby, actually, a couple of Blues, and they were saying, like, you won't win the league. Like, all the usual, bravado.
Yeah.
I'm not bothered. I think we will win the league. I'm willing to say that now. I do believe we will win the league. But people may not like this, but I'm going to say it anyway. I don't think we're an unbelievable football team. I think we're a very good football team, possibly a great football team right now. But we're nowhere near the end product, which is a good thing, by the way. We're not, you know what I mean? But I don't think we're going to need to be an unbelievable football team to win this Premier League.
Because it is what it is.
Yeah, I'm not going to compare it to the Leicester title winning season because it's not. The standard is higher than that, and the points tally will be higher than that. However, it looks like we might just take advantage of City doing what City have done, and Arsenal not quite being at it either, which is fine. And we've been very, very good, I reiterate that. But we're not all conquering. Yeah, that may well come in time, and I hope it does. We're brilliant. But I don't think you know what I mean? We might just win it, which is fine. Absolutely sound, but it'd be nice in a way.
Yeah, because if you want to take advantage of the circumstances, then why not?
I
mean, we've been victim of like circumstances in the past.
The opposite way around.
Plenty of times, of course, in the deficit. So I'll absolutely take.
Well, Klopp said to us in the interview we did with him, obviously before we left, it was something along the lines of, we paid the receipt often enough. So whenever we did have a boss season, we crumbled the next because of injuries or what have you, or the rigours of it, the quad season, and obviously we fell off a cliff. You know what I mean? So you're right. If all of a sudden things just do fall in our favour, then you've got to be there to pick up the pieces. Haven't you?
And I think in a way what you're saying as well is good, because if we're not the finished article now, obviously there's going to be question marks about whether Nunes, Jota, there's been question marks about Diaz, whether Slot likes him completely, and obviously in that 9 position, I'm not completely convinced over the last couple of games anyway that he's made the right choice going forward, especially in games where it's so congested in that middle. There's no space. You need someone who. You need Bobby Firmino, really, but if doesn't grow on trees, you know what I mean? You need someone like that, and it's quite difficult to get that. But I think it says as well a lot about like how good we can become in the season to come. If we're showing this levels so far on the Slot, obviously you'd expect him to get better because he's so methodical and he knows exactly what he needs, what he wants. That he'll make those difficult decisions in the market and stuff, and will make us better going forward. Obviously, there's the contract stuff as well, which I think obviously that influences what we're going to do massively, and the fact that that's still up in the air as it stands. It obviously is still difficult to get your head around as well.
It's horrendous. Yeah, I had a conversation literally an hour ago about this in work, and the fact that we're now mid-Feb, approaching March, is insanity when you've got 3 of your biggest, most important footballers out the door as things stand in the summer for not a penny. By the way. Honestly, it's ludicrous, and how we've got ourselves in this position has been said numerous times how poorly managed that's been. I don't really. I give a little bit of sympathy for some of the chopping and changing behind the scenes when it comes to that particular department in terms of sporting director. However, we're now so far down the line with that it's got to have been resolved. And when you look at the output we're getting from Salah, of course, when you look at the brilliance of Virgil van Dijk, when you look at the footballer Trent is, I know people have question marks and reservations about him, but the fella's a generational talent, like one of the best footballers I've ever seen for Liverpool. So, the fact we are in this position now is horrendous. I can't say it any other way, really. It's so poor, it really is. And there's no real viable excuses for it at this point either. There's been enough amount of time passed whereby somebody, Michael Edwards, Richard Hughes, et al., could have got to grips with this and got it boxed. Because if there are question marks and there are reservations over, the levels you're going to get from Mo Salah for the next, he's refined his game in such a way that he's so efficient, to come back to that word, in those decisive moments. He's made himself a different footballer. If you were looking at Mo Salah that first arrived and he was still trying to be that Mo Salah, you'd go, I'm not sure how long you can keep that up for, Mo. You know, you might not only have another 6-7 months of that left in you, so we're not going to give you a 3-4 year deal on X amount of money. He's not that footballer anymore, so it's a no-brainer.
Yeah. I'll go back to like when I had Josh Williams on, and he made a point, and I still think about it now. Like he said, like if you took Salah's numbers from every season and just jumbled them up, you wouldn't be able to guess which season was which. And I'm like, I've said that a few times on these shows, just because I was like, it's a great point, and it illustrates completely how, again, like you said, Dan, how he has tailored his game, not to be just the winger who's so quick and agile and gets you goals. He's now chipping in with assists, and he has been for ages, but like the level of just knowing when to take someone on and when to drop in, and obviously the assist from Maka, then he gets his goal as well. That just kind of like epitomises it.
It does, and he wasn't having, seemingly, and I seem to say this a lot, he wasn't having the greatest night of his life. He either didn't feel like, you know what I mean? He was sound in the game, don't get me wrong, but he wasn't pulling up any trees. He wasn't, looking particularly threatening, and yet still, in two of the most defining moments of the game, in two of the moments whereby we actually get him into freedom and into space to actually hurt teams, he produces, and that's just what he does.
Yeah. Just on Salah a little bit then. Well, related to Salah. Did you see Rami Abbas tweeted today?
Yeah, I did see
Excellent at his job. Quote tweet. Empire the Cop.
I did see.
I don't know. It's you just like you're trying to figure out his 4D chess in it. You're trying to figure out what he's doing in it.
Mostly when he tweets anything or he interacts with anyone on social media.
Yeah, there's a meaning.
There's a meaning.
Yeah.
Exactly. We've had a couple on ours, don't get me wrong, down the years whereby I might have posted something or whatever and he's responded to it. There's been a little bit of back and two sometimes. It's always got something to it. There's always something underlining, like I say. I can't quite work out what this one is. Whether it's a reference, and this is something that Paul Gorse mentioned to me about an hour or so ago, because I'll give him the credit for it, a reference to those other people in situ that maybe aren't quite as excellent as a job. That's not for me to say, but that's one potential meaning of it. Whether it's a reference to what's gone before, I'm not sure either, but or whether it's just him saying he's so good at his job, we're going to stick around for a few more years. You know what I mean?
Well,
I'm hoping it's that one.
Hopefully it's that
one. I can't quite put my finger on what it is either, to be honest.
Yeah, just because it's so little words and it's like you're trying to dig into every word.
And it's random.
It's random.
That's the biggest thing.
Yeah.
Like it's just like a generic, Premier League table and a picture of a slot.
Yeah, exactly.
Out of nowhere, he appears odd. But hopefully positive.
Hopefully that's a sign of something good. But like you said, Dan, we've been back in these shows. I was doing like November, December. They were saying, January we'll probably get it boxed off. And I was, that's February. No, we're still saying it.
And just on that, they're quick as well. Like Virgil and Mo Salah have both spoken openly about it. Trent less so. He's a much more different case. He's come out and said all he has said is don't want to talk about it. Whereas the other two coming out so openly and speaking to the press about it and what have you, made me think a few times that we come into sort of a crescendo and we might be getting some information soon. And yet still weeks go by and there's nothing. It's mad.
Yeah, because I think it was I can't remember what game it was, with Salah just like sought out the media after the game, didn't he?
Southampton in the cup, I want to say,
And it was like people, the journalists were saying he never does this. He's just came over and like obviously wants to say something.
Had a point.
And I thought that might be the beginning of it starting. Yeah, but that was a while ago now. But yeah, on Salah, we've got to talk about Salah because obviously we could get stuck into we talk about Michael Oliver and all that shit, but there's no point because it's done. Whatever's done is done. But in amongst all that, Salah was continuing to break records, and these are stats from Mike Reed from Opta. So you need to go and give his Substack a little subscribe on that because the stats are just off the chain. But yeah, he has now 23 goal involvements in Liverpool's 13 Premier League away games this season. So that's 14 goals, 9 assists. A single season record by any player for any club on the road in the competition's history, overtaking Andy Cole's 21 and 93-94. And he's done that already. Joke, isn't he?
Fella's a joke.
Yeah, and then the other one is he's got 36 goal involvements in the league, home and away this season. So he only needs 8 more goal involvements to overtake Luis Suarez's ridiculous season in 13-14 when he got 43.
He might do that in the next. He might be done before March.
I think he'll do it.
Literally the way he's playing. I mean, the big games coming up, like, and not situations in which to do it, but still, you won't put anything past him, would you? And what I love most about it, obviously, the numbers speak for themselves, is how crestfallen he looked midweek, actually, when they scored a late equaliser. And that's just another indication, as if we needed it, of how desperate he is to take Liverpool all the way this season. And what's, again, to come back to, what's almost more impressive in that is the fact that he might not even be sure where he's playing football next year, but that doesn't matter.
Yeah.
He's so driven,
Yeah.
laser focused on what could be this season. That's all that enters his mind right now. Obviously, every time he posts on Instagram, he's in the sauna in godly hours. You know what I mean? He's an unbelievable professional, but more importantly, what a footballer.
Yeah. Well, you can see in the goal celebration as well just how much it meant to him. You saw that in the Newcastle game where again we conceded the late equaliser, but in those games, in the big moments. Even in like the Spurs game, like he's in front of the crowd and he's like giving it big uns and he's
loving it as well, isn't he?
Thumping his chest and all that. It's not a player that looks like he wants to leave. I mean, we don't know legit whatever's going on contract wise, whether he wants a certain amount and he's not getting it. I don't know what it is. But again, it's baffling. It's crazy.
Solving whatever it is.
Because it's not. If it was a player that we could see, he's got half his numbers from last year. We'd be like, right, well, probably right to not give this fella a contract and place your bets on someone else. But the fact is, he's absolutely fucking tearing it up. Like if he gets 8 more goal involvements, he's overtook Luis Suarez's from 13-14, and that's probably one of the best Premier League performances ever in a season.
Yeah, I'd say so. Yeah, a lot of people hark back that season, don't they? They've been one of the greatest.
He played less games as well.
Individually you've ever seen. Like, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, but yeah, from the Salah point of view, it's mad because obviously, as you said there, if the numbers weren't there and they weren't stacking up, you could make peace. When you look at Michael Edwards, because you know what Michael Edwards does, we know how he operates. We've seen this play before. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And if he was being ruthless, to use that word, and looking at it going, I'm not sure we're going to get the same Mo Salah for a while now. I think a lot of Liverpool fans, because it's Michael Edwards involved, would go, yeah, I get it. I trust you. You know what I mean? If it's Richie Hughes on his own, you'd go, I'm not sure. Because it's Edwards, you've got that trust in him. Yeah. However, Mo Salah is surpassing the Mo Salah of old. He's surpassing footballers that we absolutely herald. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's a crazy, crazy situation. I'd love to know the inner workings as to why it isn't sorted yet. And again, come back to it, just hope somehow we can get all 3 of them boxed. Because I think a lot of people looking at Van Dijk and Salah as like the 2. I've still got every hope and think everything crossed that we can get Trent as well.
Yeah, I think everyone, well, I mean, most people I speak to, it's like Salah and Van Dijk are hopefully going to happen, but Trent is just like a foregone conclusion. Yeah. You just like it used to be the 3, and then it's like from obviously like you said, the not speaking and stuff, and like not wanting to talk about it. Like the silence is like definite in a way, isn't it? So, all right, then let's move on to Wolves a little bit then, because Arsenal do travel to Leicester tomorrow, 12:30 kickoff, I think.
Yeah, never back the 12:30, they say, mate.
But yeah, and I don't want to get into this because I've been like this in the past where obviously on the City come back to PTSD stuff where you tune into their games and you go, right, I'm going to watch this, come on lads, and then like City will score in the first 5 minutes.
Company scores and that.
Yeah, and they'll score and you're like, fuck off then again. So like I'm trying not to do that anymore. But obviously it's sometimes hard to not get drawn into that, especially if you've got like notifications on your phone and like WhatsApp groups pinging and like, oh, Leicester have scored, you know, all that stuff. And you go, oh, fucking, I'll turn it on then. Yeah. You know, all that
and
stuff.
And by the time you've turned it on, Arsenal up.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I think you're right. I think when you've got such a dog in the fight as Liverpool have this season, obviously when it comes to Arsenal, I will definitely be watching it. I'm not going to sugarcoat that. I just will. Like, it'd be foolish of me to suggest otherwise. Because for lots of reasons, I think the City point is obviously a valid one, because City more often than not did just win the games and on we went with our lives, basically. Or they found a way. I made reference to the company goal. Like, that was the one, the pre-Barcelona game, wasn't it? Where you're watching it thinking, I'm not going to do this. And they do it. But City did make a habit of just breaking our hearts, but quickly. At least they were just not so slow. They've got it done. Whereas Arsenal, they're giving us such a sniff, and they're giving us such a lot of rope to hang on to. Even when you counter in the injuries, as much as who knows what that looks like tomorrow, every time there's a setback or there's something, you think, here we go. And even this game tomorrow with Leicester, like, obviously on paper it's a foregone conclusion. Leicester are really poor. Like, they're probably going to go straight back down. Like, they're not a great side. But it's at home. Jamie Vardy's goal-scoring record against Arsenal is really impressive. Like, I'm not going to talk anybody, including myself, into thinking Leicester will win. Yeah. But nothing feels impossible in terms of Arsenal, in terms of negatives right now, because, I don't know, they smashed City to pieces, and then something bad happens. It feels like that's the way their season's going a little bit. Yeah. Because I used to get into that all them realms where you're looking at like who scored, like Vardy scored against Arsenal, and you're like,
you start convincing yourself, oh, like Van Nistelrooy used to fucking hate Arsenal back in the
there
day.
you go,
Fucking hell, it was always him and Keown just have scraps.
Yeah, it was always Wolves for me and City, or Brentford lastly, but less so because obviously our battle. It always felt like Crystal Palace every now and then. Andros Townsend scored the absolute wonder goal, didn't it? Etihad. Those were the two teams. Whenever they were playing them, I just circle it and go. They often cause them a headache, you know what I mean?
Difficult.
But they, honestly, again, come back to the point earlier on. Like Arsenal are a different beast. By which I mean they're not really that much of a beast. I don't want to say that too confidently, but it's kind of accurate right now because we're not talking 95 plus points to win this league. Therefore, I'm not sure anyone's a beast, you know.
Yeah, and like your point before is like we don't have to be invincible to win it. That's kind of the vibe, isn't it, this season?
It's probably for the best because we're again first iteration of Slots Liverpool. Was never likely to be invincible. Yeah. It's very, very good, and it's better than I would have imagined, if I'm being honest. But had we have needed to go to City and more recently Arsenal heights, we wouldn't have won the league. But it just so happens that might not be required.
Yeah. Well, like we said again, if this is the first iteration, I can't wait to see what the second and third are. It's going to be absolutely, hopefully, amazing. But so obviously you're gonna watch that one then. But then Wolves, because again. Like they've not been, they're 17th in the league. I always think it's like I always think of Wolves as like not a bogey game, but I always think it's one of them difficult ones where they've got like it's Cunha, and I think Slot referenced this again today. Like he got asked like that's the difference between the Premier League and the Eredivisie is you're not going to get a Matthias Cunha at 17th in the Eredivisie, and Cunha can play for one of the top 5 clubs in the Premier League. I think he said something along those lines, and it's right because he's that good, he's that quick, he can score goals, and he can pop up with a moment of magic. So you can't just go right, lads, we're gonna blam these here. Like don't worry about it. Like, but having him as a danger man. But even still, I'm hoping that like the overhang from the Everton game has a bit of a positive effect on us, and that. Obviously, we rested players for the Plymouth game going into that, and then we don't win that game, and then the media then going, "Oh, what's going on here?" Like out of the cup, draw to Everton after resting players, and then we're going into this game. I'm hoping we can use that as a bit of like galvanises us a little bit to kind of let's see what Arsenal do. If they do end up drawing points, fucking amazing. If they do get a draw or whatever, then we win. Then that 9-point gap that would have been there. Pre-Everton will then be there.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'm with you. And I think that could all act as fuel, regardless of what Arsenal do, really. Because we have had, a sticky patch of a week, if you like. There's only 2 games, of course. But the Plymouth game, albeit completely different personnel, nobody really wanted to go out the cup against Plymouth. You know what I mean? Not in that manner, anyway. That wasn't on the script, if you like. That wasn't the team that Arne Slot took there. I know the bench was particularly weak, but the front three, etc., should have been enough. It wasn't. Obviously, what happens in midweek happens in midweek. So I think, those 2 factors. And I really like the defiance and sort of the attitude coming out of it from the players. I know it was only social media posts and kind of whatever, but there was a real sort of like unhappiness and disappointment, and obviously because we just dropped points in the derby in the manner that we did, in the fashion that we did so late on. But I think that could all, and the fan base as well, Anfield should be absolutely bang up for this, maybe more so than it would be in normal circumstances for 2 o'clock Sunday kick-off against Wolves, because there's something to fight for in terms of the league. Something to fight for in terms of the league, obviously, but there's also like a bit of adversity now, and a bit of like everyone's just starting to look at us and going, "Are you the real deal? Can you win the league?" The rivals are queuing up to have a go. Everton have had a go. Arsenal are waiting for us to slip and what have you. So, this is an opportunity for us now to silence all that and put all that to one side and put it all to bed a little bit and say, don't worry about us. Like, we've had our little blip now, but we are the real deal.
Crack on. So, line-up-wise then, because I think Slot said today, Gakpo might not be involved. I think because he came off in the game, didn't he? So it might be a doubt. Trent obviously came back in. So, but then I think Bradley was good and was really amazingly good against Spurs, and then there's obviously like up front, who do you go? There's a few different selections to make. I think that generally we know what the team is going to be, but there's just certain areas now where he might Simicast in, he's going to put Trent back in, and there's like the Núñez shout. Jota got a few more minutes. Will he come back in because the Diaz thing seems to have like kind of faded out a little bit? I think he hasn't got a goal involved, I think, since like
this year,
late December.
Literally nothing this year. You're right. It's interesting because a lot of the selection dilemmas for me kind of lend themselves to the conversations that are going to come down the line when it comes to transfers in the summer. Because I think left back is up for grabs a little bit right now, and in the future.
Yeah.
Because I think you could easily go Simicast for this one. I think Robertson's had a slight upturn recently.
Yeah.
But I think you could easily just go Simicast for this, and nobody would really bat an eyelid. And you can do that in a lot of games this season, which you often couldn't say in years gone by. The Trent and Bradley one is interesting in so much as it's probably more of a fitness-related decision. You probably wouldn't do a 60-30 one way or the other with them on Sunday, I would imagine. I would imagine Bradley 60, Trent 30, but we'll see. And the magnitude of the game might lend itself to that particular way round as well, with what's to come especially. Midfield picks itself because Curtis Jones is suspended. I think if Curtis Jones had been available, you'd have had a conversation around him, but I think it's just about like Gravenberch, McAllister, personally, with an eye to getting one or two of them off if you possibly can. And then up front, Salah's engraved, isn't he? Let's be honest. Diaz is probably engraved if it's not going to be Gakpo on the left. I think it's probably just him over there. And I agree with your point about the centre forward, false nine, experiment, whatever you want to call it. It's had its moments by Leverkusen. It's had its more off days than good days, I would say, personally. I don't think he executes the role of facilitator particularly well. He's nowhere near Bobby Firmino to use him again. That's twice, which is good. More Bobby Firmino is good. He doesn't occupy the box anywhere near enough for centre forward. Sometimes you just need a purpose-built centre forward, and he isn't that. So Jota's fit. Obviously, Darwin Núñez is fit. You've got a slight selection headed to make there. I would personally be going Jota against his former club. Always something in that. And I think also I've got a real eye on, and I'm not taking anything for granted when it comes to Wolves, but I've got an eye on getting this game wrapped up inside the hour. And I think the best method of doing that is Diogo Jota. Because you get 1-2 chances at his feet. Chances are, you know what I mean, he's going to put them away. So get it done, 3-0 up within the hour, 70-minute mark, something like that. And as you say, get 5 off and go again. Yeah,
because I think that's what surprised me. Well, Plymouth, because Jota played so much in that, I was then thinking, I was going to hopefully wanted to see him against Everton, because in a game like that, where there's going to be minimal chances, you want Jota, like just a little header, a little goal like Maka scored. Like I would say Maka's goal was Jota-esque, wasn't it?
Just on that, the centre forward conundrum, if you like, which exists at Liverpool. Again, I think that and the left back, they're the two areas for me we're not sure on right now. Who is that guy? And again, I think that's going to happen in a few months' time as well when it comes to they feel like the two. Upgradable is probably the word.
Definitely.
Where you can go, we're very good, but I'm not sure about that and that. I don't think like Simicast and Robertson will be gone, by the way. I just don't. Likewise with all the centre forward options, but there will be some chopping and changing there. And I think that's why when we have these line-up conversations, they're the two positions you often have to speak about most, you know.
Well, Dan, we'll leave it there. Nice one for jumping on. I appreciate it. That was Pod on a Pint episode 10. We'll be back hopefully next week. I haven't sorted it yet, but I'll try and get there. You know how it is. But nice one, Dan, for jumping on.
Pleasure, enjoy it.
Nice one, everyone, for listening or watching. And we'll see you next time.
I'm Jamie Carragher, and you are listening to the Clubbe podcast.